Hey, welcome back to the Crash Space. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're back with some new gameplay. We're playing some Aggression War Machine versus Expert Drang. And I have to be honest, War Machine somehow is in my top 10 heroes. I played a heck of a lot of War Machine. Well, I've mostly been playing Justice because War Machine likes confuses because War Machine wants to hop up and down. We're doing something different right now. And specifically why we're revisiting War Machine is that this last whole cycle, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cycle, has given a lot of cards that like perfectly fit in War Machine's kit. We saw a lot of weapon support in the Winter Soldier pack. That works great with War Machine, who has 4 weapons in his kit. We also had some shield support, and that works perfectly while we are shield and alter ego. We're also soldier on both sides of our hero and alter ego, and there was a really powerful soldier only card that we got in Winter Soldier. So there's a lot to explore, and this deck so far has been a lot of fun. If you want to jump straight to gameplay, there are timestamps in the description. We're just going to take a couple minutes talking about the deck and our decisions, but also if you want to take a second to leave a like on the video, it really does help this channel grow. It's incredibly appreciated. And with that, let's talk about the deck. This is War Machine. We have only 10 health, normal 5 or 6 hand size. We have a 1-2-2 stat line. That's pretty bad. Not only do we have fewer than 6 stats, which most heroes have about 6 stats across their field, but 1 thwart is going to be a problem when you're playing solo because we don't have a lot of thwarting. That will be a downside for this deck. And we've had to add a lot of allies and our recursion. We have some recursion in the deck. We're going to have to be careful that we have enough thwarting or just enough damage to close the game out somewhat quickly. You can kind of play Rush in War Machine. Not the biggest Rush fan, but this deck has a lot of damage in it. Otherwise, our ability cares about ammo counters. Those don't have any specific rules text, just a lot of our weapons require ammo, a lot of our events require ammo to do their thing. So we need to flip up and down consistently to refill our guns. Now on the other side, James Rhodes, our alter ego, this first ability, it has been errata to only be once per turn. Hopefully that was intuitive. We can have a bit of recursion. We also, when we flip back here, we have to clear all our counters. And on this side, we are shield and we are soldier. Shield really matters because we have a couple shield supports and a couple shield only cards. So we have to make sure that we're in James Rhodes if we want to attach any of those. First part of our kit, a bunch of upgrades, and we have 4 weapons, which are quite powerful, and we have our upgraded chassis, which might be one of my favorite cards in the entire kit. Upgraded chassis is one of the big reasons why Justice War Machine just feels so good, because anytime that you flip up from alter ego to hero, you get a tough status card, at least once per turn when you exhaust this. That means Confuse is just really, really powerful, because anytime you confuse safely in solo, you can jump down largely, and then you can just hop back up next turn and just take no damage from the villain. This is going to be a bit more difficult for sure because we don't have as much confuse in an aggression deck, but one of my big reasons why I like a deck that wants to flip all the time, this card is just so great. Now the other 4 cards, the text on them, not super important. They're all consistent, either resource generators or damage dealers. Shoulder cannon is just a blast. You can just dump all the bullets you have before you flip down. But very importantly, all of these cards are weapons and they're also tech cards. Our deck cares about tech cards, but also weapons are really important because one of the new cards that we recently got is Firepower, and Firepower has been way more fun than I thought it would be. To play Firepower, you have to exhaust up to 3 weapons. We have no problem exhausting 3 weapons to basically pay 1 for 9 damage. Now, exhausting our weapons comes at a cost because then we can't use them for the other stuff, but there's easily turns where you can exhaust 1 or 2 of these for some cheap 3 to 6 damage that you can also multi-target and have range. Really, really quite good. We're also playing 1 copy of Bambino, which is another tech card and another weapon that just came out. This one's a bit more awkward because it needs to be attached to a shield card and we're only shield and alter ego, but we actually can attach this to a couple of our minions. This just gives them more damage and overkill. It's been great. And of course, we're playing lock and load to go get our weapons if we need them, or if we can get 2 threat off of this side scheme. That's our start. We're going to want most of these cards on the table as soon as possible, especially our chassis, which is the most important card on turn 1. Then the rest of War Machine's kit is mostly events. We have some cheap attacks that do damage. We have some big attacks with overkill. We have some AoE damage. And then we have 2 cards that can remove threat by spending ammunition. These cards we're going to be shuffling back into our deck a lot. Same with the overkill card, which is really good in the mid to late game when you have minions and you just want to send 8 damage. But these will come up as they'll come up. We also have Munitions Bunker, which is a very interesting card, but it's not the biggest part of this specific build. Now, these are the cards we should be talking about because these are the cards that we chose to add to the deck. Firstly, Man on the Wall. It's been such an also very exciting card that came out of Winter Soldier. We are soldier traded on both hero and alter ego, so super easy to play. And this generates resources based off the amount of minions engaged with us. And so we want minions engaged with us. And we have a lot of ways in this deck to go get minions somewhat consistently. This easily gives you 1 resource a turn, sometimes 2 resources a turn. Luckily, Drang himself has 12 minions in a relatively small deck, so we shouldn't struggle to find enough minions. But if we want to find minions, we're playing 3 copies of Looking for Trouble. Looking for Trouble has been around for a while, was reprinted. This allows you to discard from the top of the counter deck until you find a minion and then remove 3 threat. We really like removing 3 threat because we're not good at thwarting ourselves, so this is a really good thwart card. It also doesn't reveal the minion, it just puts into play so you can dodge some when revealed effects. Now, alongside Winter Soldier, we also recently got Spoiling for a Fight, which is a very similar effect, but I value 3 threat a bit more than reading our hero. Our hero stats are okay, 2 attack, that's fine, but this is going to be more consistent for what we want to do. I also want to shout out Face the Past, which works perfectly with this engine. This you can play as a hero, put your nemesis minion in play engaged with you, but as a benefit, you draw 3 cards and you ready yourself. Our nemesis is like not that bad. It is awkward because piercing will take our toughness off if we just hopped up immediately to hero mode and we got our toughness off our upgraded chassis. But if we don't have toughness, I will easily take 2 damage, let alone we can block for free and then ready ourselves for 3 cards. It's just a great trade. Face the past. If your nemesis is not that bad and living laser is really not that bad, drawing 3 cards is just perfect. Next up from this point, we have a lot of allies, and I'm playing more allies in this deck than I'm usually playing, and not only an aggression deck. In most decks I play, allies are really good in this game. We're starting with Iron Man from our base kit. Numbers on this are good. It draws a card. Our tech cards are really good. So functionally, it's like a 2-cost ally if you just want to pitch the card you draw. And then we're playing some aggression staples. We have Psylocke, who is my most played aggression ally. She can confuse, and confuse, there's very few cards in the aggression pool that confuse. So we really like jumping up and down. So we'll pay 4 for Psylocke and get that extra damage, and then spend those psionic counters to jump up and down at least on 2 turns. We're playing Angela, which works perfectly with our willingness to go find minions and put them in play engaged with us to get some resource benefits. We're playing Spider-Girl so that when minions are in play, we can stun and confuse them, so we can just keep them around to generate more resources with Man in the Wall. We're also playing Winter Soldier, the ally, a relatively new card, which can knock off some of those minions when we want to get rid of them and then do some thwarting. And Winter Soldier is easily one of the best thwarting allies you have in aggression. We're also playing 4 neutral allies. Nick Fury, Staple, Prof X is perfect for a deck because we want that confuse, we want the 3 thwart, then we'll hop down. I haven't played a lot of Mockingbird classically since the core set, but the stun is really good. She's shield traded and she can do a bit of thwarting before she leaves. And I'm a big fan of Grant Ward. And let me tell you, sometimes it's bad, but usually it's really quite good. And even if you pay 1 or 2 resources to keep Grant Ward around, that is totally a fair cost. And we don't start powerful, we end up powerful like most heroes. So having a very cheap playable card on turn 1, I really like that a heck of a lot. We have Leo and Jemma because we are shield traded in Alter Ego. So both of these cards don't cost 3, they cost 1. Leo Fitz grabs tech cards. We have, I think, 5 or 6 in the deck. We want them as soon as possible, and then Jemma can pay for them. Leo is only Alter Ego, which can be a bit awkward as much as we want to be hopping down, but Jemma always works. But once we have all our tech cards set up, unless we empty the Bambino more than once, Jemma will have hopefully done all her job. From this point on, we're just playing Staples, Quinn Carrier, and Helicarrier. We are an Avenger for resources, and then the 3 neutral doubles. That's it. So far from my testing, it's been a lot of fun. You have a lot of damage. It's pretty explosive. As long as you can get your upgrades in the right order, your chassis, you're quite powerful. You're just very good at just not worrying about the damage that the villain is doing, and Drang is attacking for a lot, so hopefully that lines up well. Speaking of Drang, we'll come back and shuffle this later. This is the setup. Drang is from the Guardians of the Galaxy box, which is a pretty difficult box, but I don't think Drang is a huge outlier. We're starting with Terrestrial Invasion. There's, I think, 2 main schemes here. This is the first one. We're playing with Drang 2 and 3 because we're playing on Expert, so we're playing with Standard and Expert. We're using the Brotherhood of Badoon set, the Ship Command set, which is required, and we're using the Band of Badoon encounter set as well. That's a really weird encounter set. So firstly, Ship Command is great. We start with a support, but this is a notable set because it has 10 cards and they're all minions. They all have star icons, so they all do something on the boost, but 10 minions is great because we actually like having minions because Man on the Wall. Setup says put the Badoon ship environment into play and the Milano support into play. So we have the Milano. That's great that we start with a good card here. The Milano generates a wild resource a turn, which obviously that's fantastic. And there's going to be a lot of encounter cards that require you to exhaust the Milano to kind of dodge their effects. So it's up to us to figure out how we want to spend this resource. I feel like the Milano is a really cool part of the Guardians of the Galaxy box, and it shows up in, I think, 3 or 4 of the scenarios in the entire box. Badoon ship, this starts and play its environment. It has a special ability that I think the main scheme and sometimes Drang will do. It says we have to place 1 barrage counter here. Then if there are 4 more barrage counters here, we deal 2 indirect damage to each player and remove all the counters from here. So it's just going to be consistent damage over time. It means it will whittle us down, so we will have to recover every once in a while. And that will be getting, I think, 1 or 2 charges per turn, because I do think the main scheme will add them. And I think when Drang schemes, we add 1 too. Backside of Terrestrial Invasion says, comes in with 2 threats, adding 2 per turn, which is, you don't see that all the time. It says Drang's overwhelming forces have mounted a surprise attack against Earth. Forced response after resolving step 1 of the villain phase. So that's when you put threat here. We have to do the ship's charge up ability. So we add 1 there. And if it hits 4, we have to take some indirect. This is what I mean. The first player action will always be the first player. We can exhaust the Milano to remove 3 threat from the scheme. So already 1 resource, 1 wild resource is worth 3 threat. So we have a lot of better ways in this scenario, which I think we're going to appreciate to hopefully deal with some threat on the main scheme. Otherwise, adding 2 a turn is a lot. Drang 2 comes in with only 14 health. Not that high. When revealed, if Drang Spear is in play, give Drang a face down boost card. It wasn't. So otherwise we search for Drang Spear and attach it. And then we shuffle the counter deck. Forced responses after Drang schemes and schemes for 2, attacks for 3, actually 4 because of the spear. We have to do the charge up ability when Drang schemes. So that'll add more counters here, which means more damage. We'll get to that sooner. Drang Spear gives Drang +1 attack, gets Stalwart, so no stuns or confuses. We do have a fair bit of that in our deck, and we have to spend 2 physical and 1 mental to discard this card. So not too much going on off the top. We probably want to get rid of that Spear sooner than later because Drang is attacking for 4, as much as we might get toughness as soon as turn 1. With that, we'll shuffle and counter deck, and we should be able to start a mulligan real soon. If you have not played the Galaxy's Most Wanted box, which is the second oldest campaign box, it is way more difficult than every other box. My guess is that the feedback from the Rise of Red Skull box was that box was a bit easy, and so the developers made this box a lot harder. It kind of mimics a bit Lord of the Rings, the card game, in which a lot of the scenarios present pretty bespoke problems that you actually have to deck build around, which is, I think, something that you see more in the Lord of the Rings LCG that FFG puts out, but less so in Marvel Champions. I think the feedback from this box was, oh my god, it's too hard, and then things kind of got closer to what modernly is the difficulty of boxes to date. So this is definitely the hardest one. There's still some really cool stuff in it. It has some really nice, like, Arkham Horror-esque campaign mechanics where you can spend experience to upgrade your deck if you are playing campaign mode. So still a really difficult box, but there's some cool stuff in it for sure. I think it's a bit maligned because of the difficulty. If you can get over that, it's kind of neat. All right, this deck has, I think, 12 minions in it, so we shouldn't have a hard time playing Angela or looking for trouble. Otherwise, we'll shuffle our deck, give that a cut. And with that, we're off. We start with the Milano, so that's a wild resource. I'll just put this up here while we mulligan. But you can use that for 3 threat, or we probably just use that to set up because obviously turn 1, you have a lot of setting up to do. We start with James. James's ability is going to be kind of important when we mulligan because we can always take a War Machine card that we've mulliganed away and shuffle it back in our deck. So if we find something that we like, but we don't like on turn 1, we can just put it back. So we'll draw it in the next couple turns. Not a bad ability. And again, this was errata to be once per turn. I think later printings have that. This printing doesn't. All right, give it a cut. Let's draw 6. First card. Angela. We might just keep Angela. It's just some damage on the table. Can't thwart. But if we have other payoffs of having a minion, 0 cost cards are like really good. That's for sure. They're easy to play. She specifically also puts the minion into play, so she doesn't do any when revealed effects. And I'm not sure how many of the minions have nasty when revealed. So we'll keep her in the maybe category. Next up, we have Missile Launcher. This is one of our cheapest tech cards. It's not bad. It does 2 damage. That's okay. I will put this in the maybe category as well. If we can set up with it, we can set up with it. It's not one of our most important cards to keep. Specifically with things like Leo, Fitz, and Jemma, we can only play them if we're an alter ego. So we might have to like aggressively mulligan for those cards specifically because they're great to play now. They get worse, obviously, next turn when we're flipped up. So we might not be able to keep okay cards. We might have to keep just like banger cards. Full auto, definitely don't keep this. We really have no good reason to keep this. We don't want to do 8 damage. Genius, definitely keep. Looking for trouble. I don't think we want this as well. This can go search for a minion to remove 3 threat. There's 2 threat on the main scheme right now, but we can clear it a different way. I'll put that in the maybe category. This is definitely no category. And then lastly, Leo. That's perfect. So Leo is always just like +1 card. We can go grab a tech card even if we don't want to play it. So Leo will keep because we want to set this up. And then I think we will just throw these 4 out because we want to look for Jemma. We want to look for some of our other more important tech cards. Cool. Strength, okay. Hopefully we have something expensive. We can always go grab something expensive with Leo. We have Targeted Strike. This is our 1 threat card in the deck, so we can always shuffle this back in. This requires only 1 and one of our ammo counters to remove 3 threat. That could line up okay this turn. 5th card, Repulsion Blast, some damage. I don't know if we want to play this. Excuse me, Repulsor Beam. I'm not sure if we want to play this on turn 1. And then we have an Energy. What a weird hand. Very, very strange hand. We drew every single resource, so we're going to be a bit resource starved. So I think this hand is going to come down to how do we want to use Leo Fitz. What is the card that we want to grab on turn 1? It's probably going to be our Chassis because it's like the most expensive. Another thing we can keep in mind is Drang Spear. We actually might be able to just like clear relatively easily because the best case scenario is you remove Drang Spear with only 2 cards, which means we can get rid of the Strength and, well, unfortunately we have no mentals, so it would have to be the Genius as well. So 2 cards for the Spear is not the worst. I think we might actually just do that. Oh, we also have the Milano, so that actually can help with the Drang Spear. So that could be the physical, sorry, the mental. So we can probably just keep that if we don't want to take the threat off of this. Okay, so if that's the case, we're definitely not playing Repulsor Beam, so we'll play Leo. And because we are S.H.I.E.L.D. in our alter ego, it only costs 1. We'll exhaust Leo to search our deck for a tech card. We have 6 tech cards in our deck. In theory, first we could shuffle the Missile Launcher into our deck, but I don't think that's a card we're going to be taking. I believe we're going to be looking for the Chassis here, which is just our most important and 3 cost setup card, because it says when we jump up, we can get a toughness, which we definitely want that. Drang is attacking for 3, which is a lot. It was the next card. I think that's what we're going to get because the Chassis is going to cost us 1, 2, 3. Actually, we could do 1, 2, 3 with these cards, and then we can get rid of Drang Spear with these, and Milana can do the threat. So, I mean, it uses our hand well. We technically overpay, but I think that's an okay start. Cool. So we'll grab the upgraded Chassis. So it costs 3, gives us the aerial trait, and it says after you change the form, you can exhaust this to give us a tough status card, which is kind of perfect. We get rid of the Stalwart, we get rid of the +1 attack in a second, but that's a pretty good setup, as much as it's going to be weird to draw every single resource on turn 1. For 3, we'll play it. Chassis comes into play. First tech card is an armor as well. We still have the Milano. I'll try and keep it up at the front so we remember it. Then we will flip up. When we flip up with a War Machine, we have a couple things that happen. Firstly, we go get 5 ammo. I'm going to put our ammo here to the side. So we can't use these unless we have a card that can use them. Then we're going to do our chassis, which fires here. That when we jump up to hero mode, we can give ourselves a tough status card, which is perfect. Don't take any damage. Don't have to block. Then we'll spend 1, 2, 3, 4 to get rid of the spear. So spent that and more. So we lose a stalwart, which is good because we haven't drawn into any of our confuses or stuns. And then we'll just exhaust the Milano here to do the text on terrestrial invasion, which you can just exhaust the Milano to remove 3 threat. And then we'll just attack for 2, which again, our stats are not the best for a War Machine, that's for sure. But we'll just start to do damage. Drang only has 14 health. We could have kept one of the 8 damage cards in our hand and blown through this relatively quickly, but that's obviously a pretty good setup. We are super incentivized to jump down next turn because of Leo and the chassis. So we'll see if we can get a nice little confuse here. Draw up, shoulder cannon. This is one of our setup tech cards. It allows us to ping a bunch of damage. Technically, it's a damage for free every turn, but you can spend ammo to keep it ready. It's like somewhat confusing because you always have to think through it a bit, but very flexible card because they're instances of small attacks. Looking for trouble, if we want a minion and some threat. We have Iron Man. Iron Man's cool. This is our unique ally. I did take the team up card out of the deck, but we can play Iron Man, who thwarts really well, which is great. And we can go search for a tech card and add it to our hand, which is, as long as we have the resources, not the worst thing. Next up, Prof X. That's the confuse we want. Prof X has 3 and a confuse, so we could jump down this turn or next turn. Hopefully we find some ways to use ammo before we do hop down. And then finally we have Face the Past, which this actually might be just a good enough Face the Past turn because we're not going to have our toughness after we're attacked. So this actually might work out relatively well. We might draw a lot of cards here. All right, Terrestrial Invasion. We put 2 threat per player, so it goes up to 2. And then Drang is attacking for 3 in a card, has no other text, just hitting us hard. Oh, actually first, after resolving step 1 of the villain phase, we have to put 1 counter here. And just so we're on the same page, Badoon ship just says when it hits 4 counters, something bad happens. Place 1 counter here. Then if there are 4 or more, deal 2 damage and clear all counters from this. All right, back to Drang. Drang is attacking us for 3 in a card. Drang only adds charges after Drang schemes. So it's just a normal attack for 3. We're not going to block because we have toughness. 4 or 5 damage on a hull breach. So just 2 boost icons. We just lose the toughness. First encounter card. Badoon Sentry. All right, we got some minions here. We'll see what we can do with this. Badoon Sentry has Retaliate 1, has 5 health, no other text. This is what I mean. This only attacks us for 1, which honestly just tickles us. I'm pretty sure some of the Badoon cards synergize with other Badoon cards in play, so we sometimes have to deal with the board. But if we had a man on the wall, we could just keep this in play, take 1 damage every turn, and basically say we're generating 1 resource every turn. So probably isn't the biggest thing that we have to deal with immediately. That's it. It's back to us. Retaliate 1. What's weird is cards like Shoulder Cannon, it is an attack, which is nice because you can, if you play Justice, you can make this do a lot more damage if you play Float Like a Butterfly. But even though that this is a gun, it does not have ranged. Find that to be weird. I feel like anything that is a shot should be ranged, but this is not the case. So we want to consider hopping down. The problem is we can clear threat from this. Drang will scheme for 2 in a card. Badoon will scheme for 1. That's not the worst. Especially with Prof X, we can clear it. So we want to play Face the Past. Face the Past says that we ready ourselves, so we should probably use our attack first. Want to see what the plan is here. Face the Past draws 3 cards. We can play Prof X. We can play Shoulder Cannon probably as well. The 3 cards play Prof X, Shoulder Cannon gets played for 2. We have the Milano floating. We might not jump down because Prof X is like Nick that just stays for 1 turn. So you might as well thwart 3, then block, then jump down. So we probably don't jam down just this turn. So if that's the case, I will just attack for 2. Into the Badoon Sentry, we take Retaliate 1. And then we're going to go ahead and take more damage because we're going to play Face the Past. Face the Past says search your deck and discard pile. Search everywhere for your Nemesis minion and reveal it. That's Living Laser. Ready your hero, draw 3 cards. You cannot attack the villain this phase and remove this card from the game. So I'm going to put Face the Past here so I don't forget because it's easy to forget. And then we have Living Laser who enters play. Living Laser has Quick Strike. Funny enough, we actually could have considered blocking Living Laser instead of attacking Badoon Sentry because the ready on Face the Past is after the minion enters play. So we could have blocked for 2 and then we would have saved 3 damage as much as the Badoon Sentry would be on 5. I'm actually going to do that in hindsight. We're not going to attack. So we're going to recover functionally 1. Instead, as the cost, we're going to put our Nemesis in play. And when Living Laser attacks us, we're going to block that. So we take no damage and then we're ready again. So small retcon there, but I do think having the Badoon Sentry on 5 health versus 3 health might not matter too much. And now we draw 3 cards. We do all the good stuff. So we draw 1, it's Winter Soldier. So if Winter Soldier defeats one of these, we can remove 2 threat. That's nice. 2 is Lock and Load. And then 3 is Grant Ward, which Grant Ward is super easy to play. And I think we can play a whole bunch of different folks this turn. So again, if we bring this down, if we bring this threat down to 2, I don't think we're jumping down right away, but I do think we're going to want to play Prof X for sure. So ideally we play Prof X, Grant Ward, and our cannon to start doing some damage. That will cost us 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have 5 cards. So that's perfect. So we'll start with Prof X. Provex costs 3, so we'll just pitch 1, 2, 3. After Provex enters play, confuse the villain, stun a minion, or ready an X-Men. We'll just go ahead and confuse Drang, who's no longer stalwart. We'll play Grant Ward, who's also free. It's going to do some work, hopefully won't betray us. There is a fair few treacheries in the deck, but there's also a lot of minions in the deck. There's a hope always that Grant Ward's text won't fire. After we reveal a treachery, if we don't spend a mental resource, Grant attacks us for 2 and then just removes himself from the game. So we got to watch out. And then we'll do Milano for 1, looking for trouble for 1, and we'll play our first weapon, which is Shoulder Cannon. Shoulder Cannon, we can exhaust it to just do a damage, and then we can spend an ammo counter to ready it. So we always have 1 free damage if we want. So I do think Grant Ward is just going to take out the Living Laser. Was it better actually to not play Grant Ward and play Winter Soldier instead? I don't think so. Profex is going to do the Profex's thing, which is going to be a thwart. That's all he can do. I think we'll continue to just push damage to Drang. Oh, wait, what's the text? We can't attack Drang, but can our allies attack Drang? You cannot attack the villain for this phase. So if I'm not mistaken, you means us, our events, and our upgrades. I'm pretty sure our allies can still toe-to-toe Drang. So first, War Machine's going to attack for 2 into Living Laser. Then we're going to use the Shoulder Cannon. So Shoulder Cannon says exhaust Shoulder Cannon, deal 1 damage. Then you can spend an ammo counter to ready this. So we'll do it again. That defeats Living Laser. Here we can decide to spend an ammo counter. I won't, because we can't attack Drang. Next turn, before we jump down, that's a cool thing with Shoulder Cannon. We can just dump 4 damage to Drang and then hop down. Grant Ward will now attack for 2. Villain is down to 10 health. We are flying. We'll take 1 from the Badoon Sentry, no problem. And we'll pass. Drawing up. We have full auto. This does a lot of damage. Remove 4 counters. Luckily, we have that. Deal 8 damage to enemy with overkill, so that might be the perfect way to get rid of the Badoon Sentry. Second card, Mockingbird, if we want to stun, which you don't really need. Jemma, so if we jump down, we can get some tech cards, which we draw with Leo. That's fantastic. We're going to be jumping down next turn anyway, so that's just perfect. We have a firepower, so we can exhaust some weapons to do even more damage. This is a very big card for the deck, and currently we only have 1 weapon, so we might have 2. There's no way for us to get 2 unless we naturally draw 1, because we can't use Leo unless we're Alter Ego. And we have Nick Fury, so we can always use the Milano to draw more cards, find a weapon, but we have a lot of options here. So threat, this goes to 2, which means the Badoon ship charges to 2. On 4, it'll pop off. We can get rid of this. In fact, this is now removed from the game, so we cannot play it again. First, Drang activates against us for 3 in a card. We will block with Prof X, who's on the way out. So 3, just an assault. So 3 damage, knocks out Prof X. Badoon Sentry will now attack for 1. We're not going to care about that. We'll just take the 1 damage. We're down to 9. We draw 1 encounter card. We have to watch out. If it is a treachery, Grant Ward will do something bad. It is a treachery, and a bad treachery at that. So firstly, advance the villain schemes. So Drang schemes for 2 in a card. Can't do anything about it. 2 boost. Luckily, we didn't draw Shadow of the Past, so this goes up to 6 of 8. Now, and before I forget, when Drang schemes, this goes up to 3. So this will pop off next turn no matter what, because Drang says that when Drang schemes, we add a counter after Drang schemes. Then Grant Ward's going to have to do some text here. Going to go on the betrayal angle, so we have to spend a mental, otherwise Grant Ward attacks us for 2, which, like, not great. Our deck actually doesn't have a lot of mentals, so this might not be the best. So we have to decide whether we want to keep Jemma, and Gemma's really good, or whether we want to play Nick. We have a lot of threat work to do this turn. So we kind of want to keep Grant, because in theory, if we spend a mental, it's like we spend a mental to thwart 2, because we just use Grant to thwart 2. Here, we will probably attack into Badoon Sentry. Firepower can do 3 damage with ranged, which means Firepower plus us will defeat the Badoon Sentry, because we can exhaust our 1 weapon, and then we can attack for 2, so that'll do 5. We do want to hop down here. The issue is if we get rid of another card, we can't play Nick. We generally don't want to play Nick, though, if we're jumping down, because the best part about Nick is that you can block with Nick, and if we're hopping down, we're not blocking with Nick. So what about if this is like a don't play Nick angle? The Badoon ship is whatever. We'll take 2 indirect. We don't really care. Technically, that means we can get rid of Grant Ward. We could also just instead play full auto for 2, so we could pitch 1, 2 for full auto. That knocks out the Badoon Sentry, uses all our ammo. We can thwart for 1. Grant can thwart for 2. Milano could thwart for 3. And then we can hop down and play Jemma. I think that's probably fine. Oh, but we have to get rid of a mental. So I do think we actually get rid of a Nick here. So again, Grant Ward's text is going to take a Nick away, which I don't think this is the best turn to play Nick if we're jumping down. So we'll spend a mental resource. It'll be on Nick. Get rid of Mr. Fury. Back to us. So with this hand, I think we can do everything we want to do. Yeah. So we'll spend 1, 2 on full auto. I want to shout out, there's a little conspiracy here that there's 2 cards in the kit. One is called full auto. I forget what the other one's called. Oh, we forgot to use our ability. Yeah, on our first turn, we were meant to shuffle something back in our deck. Apologies. We were meant to use James Rhodes' ability on turn 1, because I do think we were okay if we shuffled a targeted strike into our deck. So we forgot to do that. We'll definitely do it this turn, but keep in mind that we should have done every turn, especially on turn 1. Now, there is a little conspiracy theory. I just need to know the name of the card. Scorched Earth, yeah. I don't know if this is intentional. I think maybe people just saw this after the fact, but there is 2 cards in the set, full auto and Scorched Earth. Full auto has this art, which like obviously goes pretty hard. We're shooting everything we have and it just does 8 damage to a single target. On the other hand, we have a card called Scorched Earth, which shout out to Netrunner. This card kind of looks like they have the art swap. Like I think it makes more sense if Scorched Earth was on the full auto art and vice versa. Because this is clearly a War Machine going full auto. I don't know if that was the intention. I do think full auto has better art for Scorched Earth and vice versa. But yeah, just a bit of an oddity of the set. I do think these card arts kind of misaligned. Regardless, we'll play it. Remove 4 ammo counters. Luckily, we kept 4 ammo counters. Deal 8 damage to an enemy that attack gains overkill. So we do 5 to Badoon Sentry and 3 ends up taking Drang down. And because we defeated the Sentry, we don't have to take any sort of retaliate. So easy. He's going to the bin. Then we will thwart for 2 with Grant. We have lost 1 advance so far. So we'll just go ahead and thwart for 1. We can use the Milano to hop down. I think we're just going to use the Milano here to use Terrestrial Invasions text. So we're just going to spend 1 to remove 3 threat from this. So that'll clear it, taking it down to 0. And then we'll flip down. And so we have a couple things to do. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our alter ego ability. And we're just going to shuffle a card from our bin. That's a War Machine card back into our deck. We're going to shuffle a tech card that we don't care about. Like, I don't think we want this missile launcher. I'm going to now shuffle it into my deck. I'm going to skip that step because I'm immediately going to use Leo Fitz's ability to go grab a tech card. So I'm going to grab this tech card. It's a tech weapon and we're just going to discard it. We don't really need this right now. I just like our other tech cards a bit better. We have a bunch of resource generators and then we'll discard this to play Jemma. So weird. We don't get value out of a Jemma. So if we did not do the Milano, we actually could have played Jemma, used Leo to get a card and actually played the missile launcher. That might have actually been better. But I think we'll take the 3 threat whenever we can take the 3 threat because we're pretty bad at doing threat stuff. So I think that actually might be fine. Cool. And then we'll pass. We're ready up. We drop to 6. 1. There's a gauntlet gun. This is the one we want. We have 2 of them in the deck. Not only are they weapons, which is quite nice, but they give us ammo and they generate resources for our attack events or just our events in general, like targeted strike. This is our threat card. So now that we have this threat card, we don't actually need to keep Grant Ward if we need Grant Ward for threating because this just does 3 threat, which is enough, let alone the Milano. 3rd, Psylocke. Love to get Psylocke. That's some confused. We have the Quinn Carrier for another resource generator. And then we have Scorched Earth. That is 3 damage to each enemy in play. So if we want to go grab some minions. And then finally, we have the Munitions Bunker. This card is actually kind of neat. There's entire builds around this, especially if you play like Agent 13 and have some shield synergy to be able to ready this and fire this every turn. Because we can move all the ammo from this onto us. And functionally, if we have as much ammo as the villain has health, that means just Shoulder Cannon can just go ahead and go full auto and delete Drang. Again, Shoulder Cannon just can go infinite. It does not have a limit of how many times you can fire it. You're just limited by your ammo. All right, so this goes to 2. That means we put the 4th counter on this, which means it fires. When this fires, we remove all the counters and take 2 indirect damage. I'm going to assign 1 indirect damage to Grant Ward because I don't think we need Grant Ward for... Well, actually, I'm just going to check our hand. I think we're okay spending a mental here, but kind of like our hand. Yeah, I think we'll just get rid of Grant Ward here. He's done enough. We can't block with him, so it's basically, do you want to spend 1 card for 2 attack or 2 threat? And on this turn, might not be necessary. And then we'll take 1 damage ourselves, down to 8. Drang would activate, but is confused. That also means that Drang won't put a counter here because Drang's activation was canceled. And our 1 encounter card is Blindside. Peril. Other players cannot help you. Okay, we're on our own on this one. When revealed, choose 1. Either exhaust the Milano, spend 2 physicals, or stun the first player. Stun the first player is not a really big cost for us because we can just use the shoulder cannon. The cool thing about shoulder cannon is that using an ammo is not even part of the cost. So you can just exhaust this to get rid of the stun. So that's actually really not bad at all. I think we're just going to take the stun on this. The Milano is 3 threat, let alone a resource. So we'll just go ahead and stun ourselves. Yep, stun the first player. That's us. Okay. And it's back to us. Having this like attached to the first player, I don't think the term first player shows up on that many other encounter cards after this box. I might be wrong because first player stuff happens on Hope Summers a fair bit in Next Evolution, but it's not the most common text. All right, now if we hop up, we get a toughness, we reload ourselves, which is great. We can use Leo and Jemma to go get a tech card. We have a 1-cost tech card, which is another weapon. That was the one that we shuffled back in, right? Otherwise, what do we want to shuffle in? We have threat cards. Oh, it's Missile Launcher. This is the card. So this is the other 1-cost tech card we can get down. It says deal 2 damage to an enemy. This attack gains ranged. It does exhaust, so you can only fire it once. Definitely not my favorite card, that's for sure, but at least we can get it into our deck, draw with Leo, play it for free with Jemma. I think it's more likely we'll play Gauntlet Gun with Jemma. The question is whether we also play Quinn Carrier first and what else we're doing with this hand. If we want to play Psylocke, that is most of our hand. So at a minimum, with Leo Jemma, we should draw a tech card. So I will do our alter ego ability to shuffle this into the deck because I don't care about this card. And then we'll use Leo to draw the card. So we just have +1 card. We could get another one of our Gauntlet Guns, which is a setup card, but I think we're okay. I don't think we need 2 right away. So we've done our alter ego, we've done Leo. We can use Jemma when we flip up, and we have no reason to stay in alter ego unless we want to play Munitions Bunker. I think with Munitions Bunker is like you can only charge it in alter ego, and I don't think we're going to be spending that much time in alter ego compared to like the Justice decks that really pop off in War Machine. We definitely want to play the gun because it's the one tech card we can get down. So we could easily do Jemma plus missile launcher for the gun. So I want to make sure that makes sense. And then we can drop all of these 4 cards into Psylocke to get some confuse. I don't really want to play any of these other cards, so I think that's fine. We have a couple more firepowers in our deck, and now we're on 2 weapons. So I think that's good. So we'll play this for a Jemma and a card. Again, it's a weapon, which is good. We can exhaust this to generate an ammo and a wild to play for one of our War Machine event cards. So we could play Targeted Strike for free. That is fine, I guess. It technically is the same as just tapping the Milano. Then we'll flip up. When we flip up, our upgraded chassis hits us, so we get a toughness. We'll just use a shoulder cannon to get rid of the stun. We don't have to do anything. And then we will pitch. Yeah, this is all the same, but this is more fun. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 for aggression Psylocke. So maybe we are going to be hopping up and down enough to play the munitions bunker. 3 health. Comes in with 2 Psy counters. When we attack with Psylocke, we can remove a Psy on a counter to confuse the enemy and deal 1 damage. So we will. So she attacks for functionally 2 damage. She takes a consequential. Drang goes down to 8 and gets confused again. So we can always just hop down if we want to. We're not worried about an attack. We will just attack for 2. We have 5 ammo counters, mind you. That always happens when you jump up to hero mode. That's all our text is. And then we'll just exhaust the gauntlet gun. This is the same as if we exhausted the Milano. So we generate a wild resource crate. We place an ammo on our War Machine, and then we play Targeted Strike, which uses an ammo. So it's kind of a wash, and we can remove 3 threats. So just a convoluted way to play more of our cards. That's it. We'll pass. This should have been exhausted, but that's okay. And then we'll draw up to 5. Looking for trouble, we want to find minions. So I don't know how many more AoE cards. We've been largely using our recursion loop for just setup, but eventually we'll do it for damage and AoE. Our second Gauntlet gun, so another research generator. We have the Helicarrier, which I'm not sure we need at this point. Scorched Earth, this is our AoE card, so we're actually in a pretty good spot if we want to go grab a minion. We might just get one off the top, but this is does 3 damage to every enemy in play. And finally, we have Man on the Wall, which is perfect if we want to set up looking for trouble, because Man on the Wall means that we can go get some extra resources, depending on how many minions engage with us. So maybe the best case scenario, we get 1 minion off the activation, 1 minion off of looking for trouble, and then we can generate 2. This goes to 2. That means we put 1 counter on the Badoon ship. Drang attacks us for 3 in a card. We won't block. We're tough. Star icon on the engineer. Maybe we'll get 3 minions. Resolve the Badoon ship, charge up ability. Okay, never mind. So this goes up to 2, and we take no damage because of the toughness. 1 encounter card, not a minion. It's a Power Siphon. Power Siphon says same thing peril, so please do not help me in the comments. Choose 1, exhaust the Milano, spend 2 resources, energy resources, or discard a card randomly from your hand. I think here we can't spend the energy resources, all physical, all mental, mostly physical. So I think we're just going to exhaust the Milano. So we lose 3 threat this turn, but I want to play all our cards in our hand because looking for trouble is 3 threat. Man on the Wall is at least 1 resource. So we'll just do that. All right, it's back to us. We're incentivized to jump down a bit on this turn, but we also want to play Scorched Earth to clear the table. We could just defeat Drang. I don't know what Drang 3 looks like. I think it has a fair bit more health, I'd assume. 18, okay, still relatively low. Discard the top 4 cards in counter deck. Each time a minion is discarded this way, put into play. Oh, that's a really good setup card for our Scorched Earth. So we probably want to advance Drang first and then do Scorched Earth, which Scorched Earth requires 3 ammo. So we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we can advance this. Okay. Attacks for 3, schemes for 3, big numbers. And actually, yeah, now after it activates, now on Drang 3, whenever Drang activates, whether it's a scheme or attack, we take some Badoon ship charges. Okay, fascinating. So again, Psylocke can attack for 2. We lose the confuse. We technically can attack for 1. We don't have to do Psylocke's text, but I think we need to hit the breakpoint of 6 here to let that fire. War Machine can attack for 2. Shoulder Cannon can attack for 2. And then that does exactly 6 damage if we use Psylocke, which means we can do some Scorched Earth. Because we can do 1 more attack because we'll generate an ammo counter with Gauntlet Gun. So I'm going to start here with looking for trouble. So discard cards from the counter deck until we discard a minion. Easy. Put that minion into play engaged with you and then remove 3 threats. So this is a Badoon Assassin. I think this one has quick strike, right? Force response after Badoon Assassin engages you, it attacks you with +2. So it's attacking us for 3 damage. It is pretty weak, but just 3 damage coming in with 1 health. We remove 2 threat from here. So I think we just take 3 damage. We're definitely not going to block this. So we'll take 3 down to 5. Wow, if this activation is an attack, it gets overkill, piercing, and range. That can just happen to Drang. That's really bad because obviously we're like really dependent on toughness. There's probably a couple of these in the deck. Let me just slide this around. Expecting there to be more minions in a second. So we're going to start and try and advance Drang so we can get a bunch of minions on the table so we can do a Scorched Earth. So if that's the case, we'll attack for 2 into Drang. We'll attack with Psylocke. Unfortunately, I think we don't have to use Psylocke's ability. So actually, let's start with the Shoulder Cannon. So that does 1 damage. We exhaust it. Then we may remove a counter, which we will, to ready this. We'll do it 1 more. So a villain takes 1 more, and we'll spend 1 counter to ready. The Drang's on 2. We'll do 1 more, but we won't use the charge on this. So then that drops Drang down to 1. Nice. And that means now we can attack with Psylocke and not use her interrupt. So we can keep another Confuse on the table. So Psylocke will just attack for 1, taking 1 consequential, and that will defeat Drang. Drang takes 1, we go to Drang 3. Drang 3. 18 health. When revealed, discard the top 4 cards of the deck. Each time a minion is discarded, put it into play, engage with the player who's engaged with the fewest minions. 1, we get rid of a Master Plan. 2, a Gang Up, a Badoon Lieutenant, and Under Fire. Okay. Drang is still confused, is attacking and scheming for harder, and anytime it activates, he will add counters to the Badoon ship. The Badoon Lieutenant comes into play. 6 health, Patrol, so we cannot thwart the main scheme. This means Man on the Wall is a lot better. So I think we'll pitch the Helicarrier for Man on the Wall now. We can play this because we're a soldier. And now we can exhaust this, and the next card we play reduce its cost by the amount of minions engaged with us, which is currently 2. So really, really good. So we'll generate 2 resources. We'll generate a resource with the Gauntlet Gun. So that places an ammo here. And then we'll play Scorched Earth. So we'll spend 3 ammo. So we could have done one more off of the shoulder cannon, but that's totally fine. Oh yeah, we definitely should have. We could have done 1 more damage. That actually kind of matters, not entirely. So it says remove 3 ammo counters, deal 3 damage to each enemy in play. It's not an attack, so it beats guard. It doesn't take retaliate. So Drang takes 3. We cleared Assassin, and the Lieutenant is down to 3 health. Okay. So Drang won't scheme, but the Badoon Lieutenant will. This is totally a fine time to jump down. So we do lose this counter. We could have shot 1 more time if we did the math better. So we'll flip down. We lose all our ammo. Down here, we can shuffle a card back into our deck. We can also go get a card with Leo and Jemma. So we can play this Gauntlet Gun for sure. So we might just do our bad recursion where we grab a card we don't want. The deck is 5 more cards. So we will deck out and grab another encounter card, which is kind of dicey here. This advances we don't lose the game, so it's not the worst. So I think we just grab a card to play the Gauntlet Gun. Yeah, I think we do. Firstly, we'll use our alter ego ability. So we'll search our deck for a card and we just put it back. We're going to grab a tech card. So we'll just grab this missile launcher. Then we'll shuffle our deck, but we're just going to go ahead and grab it immediately with Leo. But now this is in our hand, and we'll generate for a tech card with Jemma. We'll throw out the missile launcher and we'll play our second copy of Gauntlet Gun. So I do think there might be 1 more firepower left in our deck, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we've seen all 3, but now we have at least 3 weapons on the table. So firepowers are going to do 9 damage. Yeah, there actually might be 2 firepowers in the bottom of our deck. I'm going to stack our Gauntlet Guns because they do the same thing. Each of these is a wild for one of our War Machine events and generates an ammo, which is great. And we'll pass. This is a good turn. In theory, actually, it might have been better to not play the Gauntlet Gun and then shuffle in one of our massive overkill attacks, like full auto, because we know we're going to draw it because we're going to deck out, so it's guaranteed. That could have been right, because we can just ignore the Badoon Lieutenant, do 8 to Drang, then we can do a bunch more damage. So yeah, we might have actually had lethal next turn if we didn't play the Gauntlet Gun. I think overall that's going to be okay, but yeah, if we put that back in our deck, we're going to be drawing Firepower. So Firepower does 9 damage guaranteed because we played this. So we can do 9. Technically, the shoulder cannon is worth 5 damage, so you don't always want to exhaust it. But this means this one can do 5 damage. These can do 6 damage. We do 13, 14, 15. Yeah, we have lethal next turn no matter what. And so we'll pass. Draw up. There's the Firepower. There's the second Firepower. There's Spider Girl who can stun and confuse. A minion, not a villain, but a minion. So not bad. We have the Bambino, which we could play this turn if we wanted to. It is a tech card, so it gets a fair bit cheaper. This is another card we could have been grabbing. Actually, I forgot about this card, but this is a card we could have been grabbing with Leo instead. And then we can shuffle in one of the like big overkill attacks. Because the issue now is we have nothing to play with Gauntlet Gun. That's not great. Actually, we have a Repulsion Blast, so that's not entirely true. Sorry, Repulsor Beam. We do deck out, so we're getting an encounter card. We're gonna have to shuffle our deck, draw 1 more. If we remember to shuffle a card back into our deck on turn 1, we would still just perfectly deck out here. But there's actually a case here that we could have almost won in a single deck cycle. But yeah, Drang doesn't have a lot of health. All right, last card. Another Firepower. That's like super useless. But yeah, we have the full play set of Firepower. That's not great. All right, this goes to 2, which means this goes to 3. Drang is confused. The Badoon Lieutenant will scheme for 2, so this goes up to 4. We draw 2 encounter cards. First card, Assault. Okay, this just gets Surge because we are in alter ego mode. Next card, Caught Off Guard. Okay, not the worst. This just discards one of our cards or upgrades or supports. My guess here is that we actually probably don't need the chassis because I do think we have lethal this turn, so the chassis doesn't do anything. Jemma and Leo kind of do something. They both give us a research generator. Man on the Wall is a research generator. The 2 Gauntlet Guns are 2 weapons, so I do think we actually unfortunately get rid of the chassis. Last card, Badoon. This is a Badoon Grunt. Does this one have guard? No, but it has a force response. After Badoon Grunt engages you, if there are no other minions engaged with you, deal yourself a face down encounter card. Oh, wow. So it's good that we kept this thing around, and now Man on the Wall is kind of perfect. So only 2 health, doesn't have guard. Back to us. Oh, mind you, Psylocke is ready. All right, so we can just use James Rhodes' ability to shuffle the chassis back into our deck. It does not matter. We're not drawing this turn, so it's not going to impact us, but that's what we can do. We forgot it on turn 1. And all we have to do is 15 damage, which should not be that difficult. We can use Leo here to go grab a tech card. Our deck has 6 tech cards. 1, 2, 3, 4 we shuffled back in. 5 is Bambino. The 6th one is the missile launcher, which we've just been putting back into the deck consistently and just keep pitching. So I think we'll try and play the Bambino here. Man on the Wall will exhaust this to generate 2 resources. Oh, it's a hero action, so hold on. We have to jump up first. So if that's the case, we'll just use Leo to go grab that card we're never playing. The missile launcher. We actually could consider playing it. It's technically 2 damage this turn. Not the worst, but we'll just grab that in our hand. Then we'll flip up. When we flip up, we get our 5 ammo, which we're going to use all of those. And we can exhaust our chassis. Never mind. I forgot we got rid of that. So we're not tough, but that should be fine. Okay. We're going to use Jemma and we're going to use Man on the Wall. Oh, wait, no. If we want to play Bambino, we have to do that before we flip up because we have to attach this to a shield card. So hold on. That's still fine. So before we flip up, we'll use Jemma. We won't use Man on the Wall. And then we'll play Jemma, Firepower, and then we'll play Bambino. Because again, we have to play this when we're shield, so we'll do it on this side. This thing gets 3 counters, and when we do a basic attack, we can give +3 additional attack and overkill, so we can even clear the board. Now we'll flip up. Oh, this card doesn't exhaust to activate, which is cool, so you can ready and fire multiple times. Yeah, it doesn't. Oh, that's sick. That's a really good, nice way to use firepower. Okay, so we're just going to send some damage, and I think we have enough damage here. Shoulder cannon is more than 3 damage, so in terms of firepower, it doesn't make sense. Bambino is more than 3 damage, but it being exhausted doesn't matter, so we can exhaust Bambino. And then we can exhaust one of the gauntlet guns, which is totally fine. So we will just use the Milano to play firepower. So exhaust up to 3 weapon cards you control. So we'll exhaust a gauntlet gun. We'll exhaust the Bambino, and I guess we'll exhaust the next gauntlet gun. And so now we can do 9 damage. There's 3 different instances. None of these have guard, so we'll just do 9 damage to the villain. Okay, we can Man on the Wall to play Spider Girl. Man on the Wall generates 2 resources because we're engaged with 2 different minions. 2 health. When she comes in, we can stun and confuse a minion. Okay, I guess we'll stun one, confuse the other. Doesn't really matter. Repulsor Beam does more damage, so we'll just play the Repulsor Beam. So we have to spend an ammo. Repulsor Beam just says deal 4 damage to an enemy. We'll deal it to the villain. So now on 2 health, we have no problems here. So we actually probably can clear the whole board. So we'll attack with War Machine for 2. With Bambino, we'll spend a charge. So we're attacking for 5 with overkill. Oh, wait, that just clears the table. So that'll do it. So that's 5 damage into the Badoon. So that does 3 overkill to Drang. Drang is defeated. Just that easy. And we have 4 more damage on the shoulder cannon that we can just send in. We have 2 more damage, and then we have 2 more damage with Psylocke. So almost took us just 1 pass through the whole deck, which is kind of wild. Usually I'm a bit more of a setup player, but we did set up pretty aggressively, pretty well. The early Leo, the early Jemma was great. We had just enough status effects, just enough toughness that we can largely ignore the villain. But that's just Drang. Not too bad at all. Now, if you want to play this list, it is included in the description below on YouTube. There's a Marvel CDB link. You just have to hit the more button and would love to hear your thoughts on this. I'll be playing a fair bit more of this off camera. We'll see how it goes. But normally I've been playing a lot of Justice. I do think with aggression, you might just be able to full send. And firepower, 1 for 9. Pretty good, turns out. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to take a second to leave a like on the video if you appreciate this sort of content, that's greatly appreciated. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Ciao.